Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about India's commitment in relation to zero emissions, and it is related to environment. But surprisingly, not too many words, about seven to eight, about please wait, Varaprasad. There are certain things we have to check. Now, am I audible? Please don't be hasty. Guys, am I audible? Say yes or no. Good morning to all of you. I have asked a question. Am I audible? Yes. So, this editorial, surprisingly, I was expecting a lot of words because it is related to environment, but I haven't found too many words. And many of these words are quite familiar. I could find only eight words. Of these eight words, about three or four are quite familiar. You have got many a time. And because of that, today you may not see a separate slide editorial vocabulary because many words are easy and about five words you have to work on. Anyhow, this editorial is all about India's commitment in relation to zero emission. How does it start? Positive climate. It's all about positive climate related to environment. Engagement with the US should help India expand mitigation, adaptation, action. As I said, what is a positive climate? The US envoy is in India, and the context, and also it is about the context is about environment, how to protect the environment. We all know there are hell a lot of problems because of climate change, greenhouse gases. The main idea talks about engagement with the US should help. Doing something in association with the US should help India expand mitigation. The word mitigation we have got so many times. What does it mean? Make something bad less severe. You make something bad less severe, less serious, less painful. Also, synonyms you have got so many times: mitigate, alleviate, assuage. And here he talks about the association with the US should help India expand mitigation. That is one thing. And adaptation action, one more thing. Then it provides the background information. India's frontline position as third highest emitter of greenhouse gases has sharpened focus on its future policy course to mitigate carbon emissions under the Paris Agreement. This talks about India's position when it comes to mitigating the carbon emissions. These are the key concepts and the words. What is its position? And India has a dubious distinction as third highest emitter of greenhouse gases. I have just used one expression, dubious distinction. Dubious means doubtful. It has a negative connotation. India's frontline position as third highest emitter of greenhouse gases has sharpened focus on its future policy. The future policy course should be on mitigation. To mitigate what? Carbon emissions under the Paris Agreement. It has an irrefutable claim. There's one important word over here. Refutable, irrefutable, impossible to deny or disprove or question. Irrefutable stand, irrefutable claim, and irrefutable something image, or it goes with something like positive. It has an irrefutable claim to be to a big part of the remaining global carbon budget, along with other smaller nations with low historical emissions. But room for maneuvering has shrunk in a world facing record temperatures and calamitous weather events. This talks about irrefutable, impossible to deny or disprove or question. Claim. Claim to what? Irrefutable claim to what? A big part of the remaining global carbon budget, along with other smaller nations with low historical emissions. But room for maneuvering. There's one important word over here, maneuver. The action of cleverly planning something to get an advantage. Maneuver means to handle something in a clever manner. Now it is not there. Room for maneuvering has shrunk, not completely ruled out, but shrunk, has shrunk in a world facing, the present world is facing record temperatures and calamitous weather events. Record temperatures, the temperatures are soaring, and calamity, something that is very bad, that wreaks havoc, and calamitous weather events could be storms, could be cyclones, could be earthquakes, whatever it is. There is escalating pressure. Now he talks about certain other countries have committed. India hasn't committed yet. Because of that, there's a lot of pressure on India. There is escalating pressure for India to commit itself to a date when it can achieve net zero. Here it talks about achieving net zero emissions. And every country has to, the major polluters or the major countries, they have to commit a date. India hasn't committed yet. Because of that, there is escalating pressure. Escalation means what? If you go to an airport or malls, you come across escalators, moving stairs. But escalate means increase. There is escalating pressure for India to commit itself to a date when it can achieve net zero, removing as much greenhouse gases as it emits, on the lines of the goals set by the US and the European Union for mid century and 2060 by China. This talks about other countries, other organizations committing a particular date. India hasn't committed yet, and it gives a reference of on the lines of the goals set by the US and the European Union for mid century, perhaps 2050, and 2060 by China. Declaring a net zero plan under the Paris Pact is a disquieting prospect since it would impose expensive choices, particularly in energy production. There is one word, disquieting. Disquieting means something that causes anxiety or worry. Though it looks like a positive word, it is a negative word. Disquieting means causing anxiety or worry. Declaring a net zero plan under the Paris Pact is a disquieting prospect. It is not something you can feel comfortable about. It induces anxiety. What is the reason? Since it would impose, force, thrust upon expensive choices, particularly in energy production. So it is not easy to commit. That conundrum, this is an important word. What is the meaning of the word conundrum? A confusing and difficult problem or question. Usually it means a difficult problem. It is like there's one idiomatic expression, a hard nut to crack, a very difficult problem to deal with. That conundrum has been addressed, means has been dealt with, has been tackled, at least partially, not completely, partially, by visiting US Special President Envoy for Climate John Kerry. So, envoy means a representative, the ambassador, representing a country or the president of a country. Here, presidential envoy, what is his name? John Kerry. That conundrum has been addressed, at least partially, to some extent, by whom? By visiting US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, with the promise. Now, what happens here? The editorial talks about committing, if India has to commit net zero plan, then what happens? It has to face on the financial, it has to face the financial uh, difficulties, impose expensive choices to handle that problem to some extent at least. The US presidential envoy, his visit right now, he's in India, the promise, with the promise of financing and technology to make renewable energy the core of future development. Now we are going to get help from the US. One is a promise of financing, the other one, technology, promise of technology for what? To make renewable energy the core of future development. Today, we are not, almost all the countries, they are not focusing on fossil fuels because they are not renewable and they cause a lot of pollution. The focus, it has been there for the last 30 or 40 years. The focus has been on renewable energy or non-conventional energy sources like wind power, solar power, tidal power, all these. So The US is going to play a crucial role when it comes to financing and technology to make renewable energy the core of the future development. Envoy means representative. Already I have said envoy, ambassador, representative of a particular country. Specific areas of cooperation. Now it talks about specific areas of cooperation to bring down emissions. Here, the bottom line, the most important thing, bring down emissions. And how can we do that? With the on the one hand, we have to cut down the fossil fuels. On the other hand, we have to depend on renewable sources of energy. Specific areas of cooperation to bring down emissions in the expansion of transport, buildings, and industry. Transport buildings, they go with infrastructure. If you take any town or city, we talk about infrastructure and what comes under infrastructure: power, water, transport, public transport, and housing, buildings. And also now they have included education under infrastructure and industry, and facilitating funding for 450 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030. So it talks about areas of cooperation. One is expansion, transport, buildings, and industry, and facilitating funding, financing for 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. There's a deadline by 2030. Can advance, it may make a positive impact. India US Climate and Clean Energy Agenda 2030 partnership. There is a partnership between India and US regarding climate and clean energy agenda 2030 partnership. So based on that partnership, they're going to give a helping hand financially, technologically. More clarity on the bilateral roadmap. Roadmap means the direction, the plan, the strategy, the vision. More clarity on the bilateral, two countries, India and the US, bilateral roadmap towards emissions reduction may come at the COP26 conference in November. There is an important conference in the month of November, and we may get more clarity that time. India, meanwhile, so what India has to do in the meanwhile? India, meanwhile, needs to get all states to mitigate emissions and help them adapt to climate linked extreme weather and atmospheric pollution caused by fossil fuels. Now, India has to do something before November. What is it? It needs to get all states to mitigate emissions. Now, states play a crucial role. India needs to get all states to mitigate emissions, one thing, and help them. The center has to help the states, help them adapt to climate linked extreme weather. Today, we have been, for the last 2 or 3 years, extreme climatic conditions, a lot of disasters, extreme weather, and atmospheric pollution caused by fossil fuels. So the center has to give a helping hand when it comes to mitigation of emissions by the states, and also adapt to climate linked extreme weather and atmospheric pollution caused by fossil fuels. At the end of 2020, a year marked by COVID 19 and many destructive storms, the Union Environment Ministry declared that at the end of 2020, what happened? A year marked by, everyone knows 2020, the year of COVID 19, and many destructive storms, Orissa on the eastern coast as well as the western coast. The Union Environment Ministry declared that the country had achieved 21% of its 33 to 35% target to cut emissions intensity of GDP by 2030. And similarly, there was reduction because there was a lot of lockdowns, continuous lockdown was generating 37.9% of the 40% of power from renewables. 40%, it could generate 37.9%. That is something appreciable from renewables. Though encouraging, this is definitely encouraging. On the one hand, reduction when it comes to pollution emissions. On the other hand, the generation of renewable energy, the target 40%, 37.9%, quite impressive. Though encouraging, but contrasting information. Though encouraging, the immediate challenge lies in coming up with an adaptation framework to help those at highest risk. It is encouraging, no doubt, but what is the immediate challenge? The immediate challenge lies in to come up with an idea, to come up with a plan, with an adaptation framework. Adaptation framework. The main idea of the editorial, two things. One is emission, reduction of emissions or mitigation of emissions. The other one, expanding the adaptation action. it talks about that idea over here. Adaptation framework. Why do we need this adaptation framework? There should be some objective to help those at highest risk. Who are those? The millions living in the path of annual cyclones, including residents of populous coastal cities. Whenever there is a storm, there is a cyclone, the people who live over there in the sense of coastal cities, they have to bear the brunt of the cyclone, or they have to bear the brunt of the storm. And they should, center has to do something, states have to do something, because they are at the highest risk. Raising the ability of city administrations to handle tens of millions of liters of water regularly dumped in just a few days requires planning, funding, and political commitment. Raising the ability of city administrations. Center states, now it talks about city administrations, they also have a role to play. What is that role? Raising the ability of city administrations to handle tens of millions of liters of water regularly dumped. There's one word over here, dump, dumping yard, you all must be knowing. Deposit or dispose rubbish, waste, or unwanted material, typically in a careless or hurried way. Tens of thousands, tens of millions of liters of water are regularly dumped in just a few days. This requires planning, funding, and political commitment. Making, how is it possible? Making low cost insurance available for houses against climate related losses will raise resilience. Even this word we have got many a time. What is the meaning of the word resilient nature? Resilience. To fight back, capacity to fight back, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. One solution, making low cost insurance available for houses against climate related losses will raise resilience and lead to audits encouraging governments to reduce risks. So it is a good solution. The Paris Agreement can easily fund much needed urban retrofitting and boost employment. This also talks about one of the dimensions related to the Paris Agreement. What is it? The Paris Agreement can easily fund, again, it talks about the financial aspect, much needed urban retrofitting. There's one important word. Retro means going back, going into the past. What is this retrofitting? At the time of constructing, at the time of manufacturing, imagine something, it did not have a particular component. And at a later stage, we provide that component and we supply that component. That is known as retrofitting. Urban retrofitting and boost employment. In that process, employment can be generated. There is also a health imperative. What is that health imperative? Heat stress has a severe impact, causing higher mortality among the vulnerable elderly. Here it talks about the temperatures are going up. That means what? Heat stress is there. Heat stress has a severe impact, causing higher mortality, deaths among the vulnerable elderly. How does the editorial end? These are growing problems. Editorial has just touched a few problems, and some of them go with people living along the coastal cities, and it also touches elderly people who are vulnerable. These are growing problems, but they also represent an opportunity to steer post COVID 19 policies. Steer, you all know steering, it goes with driving, but in this context, it means to pursue a course of action in which direction one has to go. These are growing problems, but they also represent an opportunity to steer post COVID 19 policies towards benign, means gentle and kind. Green development. Today, the focus is on green development, green lifestyle, eco friendly products for the better. For the betterment of the environment. For a low emissions future, policies must put nature at the center. The bottom line, I have been talking about this editorial, but what is the bottom line today? What is the problem? We all talk about environment. When it comes to environment, do remember, you may get a passage in prelims, mains, or the descriptive paper, and it has so many dimensions about based on this concept, environment. We say you can think of 15 to 20 topics, dimensions. Every dimension is important. So it ends on a note. Obviously, it is something very important. What is that? For a low emissions future or zero emissions, policies must put nature at the center. We have to focus on nature, and it should be nature centric. Nowadays, these days, the business houses, they are using customer centric, service centric. Like that, we have to use a new term, that is nature centric. All the policies should be nature centric. Then you can expect a better future, not for us, for the future generations. So it is all about the editorial. Let us go to the comprehension part. What are the possible questions you can think of? What is this editorial about? What is a disquieting prospect? It looks like a positive word, but it's a negative word, disquieting, something that causes anxiety or worry. So, key word you should be able to spot and write the answer. In the context of the editorial, where does the immediate challenge lie? Editorial says there is an immediate challenge, it lies somewhere. Where does it lie? Again, based on the keywords, you should be able to locate and write the answer. What requires planning, funding, and political commitment. At the fag end of the editorial, these words have been used and again easy to answer. What will raise resilience and lead to audits, encouraging governments to reduce risks? The key words. Again, navigate, locate, and write the answer should not be a problem. Let us go to error location, the first five questions, then we will go to the next one. Please excuse me. Read the sentence and try to locate the error. The couple's work in upgrading rural technicians has set a benchmarking for future generations. All these questions are from previous year's papers. Benevolent, kind, gentle, all these words can be used. Vulnerable, likely to get exploited, weak, jeopardized, threatened, any of these words you can think of. I see some students have already answered. The couple's work in upgrading rural technicians has set a benchmark. We cannot use ing form. Has set what? A benchmark. Benchmark means what? Standard, hallmark, benchmark, a standard that can be emulated by others. So this question is about a word form, a right word, a wrong form. We cannot use ing form, we have to use a noun form, benchmark, standard. Go to question number two. Today, almost all the questions are easy, should not be a problem to get all the five correct. The city needs an airport that can efficiently manage a constantly flow of passengers and flights. Again, easy, should not be a problem. Please mention the question number. And these questions are from SBI previous year's papers. SBI, I would like to reiterate. Yes, the city needs what? The city needs an airport that can efficiently manage. That can manage how? Efficiently manage what? Flow is a noun. Manage what? Flow. Which flow? There is some one describing word. There should be a describing word. Constant is an adverb. Here we cannot use an adverb. We have to use an adjective. So ly is not correct. It should be constant flow. What is it? Constant flow. Constantly flow is not correct. Adjective noun, correct combination. Adverb noun, not the correct combination. This is again related to word forms. I always tell students, bank exams, many competitive exams for that matter, they ask questions related to word forms. They are rather easy, but many students find questions related to word forms difficult. Exactly, adjective form. Please go to question number three. This group of rural achievers, group third person singular, is nothing wrong, very different than the ones in the past. Yes, Srinu, adjective plus noun. Here, different. This is based on prepositional combination or fixed prepositions, what people say. I prefer the word prepositional combination. Different does not take the word than, it takes a preposition from. Different from. Different from. This is different from that one. And what is this question about? Prepositional combination. Yes. Question number 4. Witness the young soldier's ability to repeatedly hit bull's eye, the target, at arms training. Instructors pushed him to participate in the army marksmanship competition. Hit the bull's eye, hit your target. Different than is not correct. Different from is correct. Where is the error? This is also an easy one, should not be a problem. No, no. Where is repeat? Nothing wrong with ability to repeatedly hit. Here it is an adverb. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with, yes, Prithvi Raja has got it right, the first one and the only one so far. No, Madhav also. Here we cannot say witnessed. That is not the correct word form. We have to say witnessing. Witnessing the young soldier's ability, seeing the young soldier's ability. We have to use the word in the ing form, witnessing. Witnessed is not correct. Again, this is about a word form, the right word but wrong form. Witnessing, seeing, observing. We have to use the word in the ing form. Question number 5. This is a bit difficult. Of all the 5 questions, I feel this is not easy under pressure. No, Shankar, an error. Witnessed is not correct. Witnessing is correct. You cannot use witnessed. What does it mean? Here we have to use observing. That means after observing, after seeing, they have decided to do something. And witnessed, you cannot use the verb in the past form or past participle form. I will give one example. Reading the book, he realized something. Will you say that or read the book, realized something? It is not grammatically correct. Raghu, have you got it? Here, witnessing means after witnessing. No, no. This is not an easy one. You have to read meticulously. Nagarajan, Nagarjun, almost there, but not the exact. Madhav has got it right. It is not on the time, it should be by the time. By the time. What is it? Automated baggage handling systems are ensuring that by the time passengers are out of the plane, their baggage is already waiting for them. By the time is a correct phrase. It is about a phrase, prepositional phrase, by the time. Has anyone got all the 5 correct? Four. Four is good. All the five. Wonderful. Oh, you are there. Four is pretty good. These are questions from previous year's papers. Easy questions, in my opinion, except one. The last one is not easy. Under pressure. A is the first one. Who is that? Absolutely right. Ramesh. See, also you should be happy. Actual questions. On January 10th, 2020, the Supreme Court of India held what? One is A, not D. Two C. Held that. Yes, it is C. Ask a question. On January 10th, 2020, the Supreme Court of India held that access to information via the internet is a fundamental right under the Indian Constitution. AC, one pair. What is the third one? E is the third one. Very good. I don't know who is that. Nirmala Mala. Yes. It provides a background information. This was, when did it hold? This was in the case of Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India. E is the third one. What is the fourth one? F is the fourth one. This was in the case of Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India, where the top court also ruled that any restriction on internet access by the government must be temporary, limited in scope, lawful, necessary, and proportionate. EFB one group, yes. What are you left with? The last one. The court reiterated that the government's orders restricting internet access are subject to review by courts. They cannot do on their own. They are subject to review by courts. Only then they can implement. AC one group, EFB one group, and D independent concluding statement. Yes. Try to answer these idioms. Take exception to. I take exception to something. What does it mean? He has taken exception to something. All the six correct. Wonderful. Easy to some extent. But do remember, all these questions here, they may look easy. One of the reasons this is not the actual exam. But when you take the exam, you're under tremendous pressure because the time limit, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you got to work under pressure, stipulated time period. Then these questions may look a little difficult, but you should be happy. This is also, in a way, live session. You are not getting enough time. You should be able to deal with the pressure. What is the answer? To object strongly, yes, of course. It is not the second option, it is not the third, it is not the fourth. Take exception to means object strongly. Someone says something, someone does something, you take a exception to that means what? You object strongly that particular thing or that particular statement. Let the grass grow under one's feet. You can guess easily this one, should not be a problem. Let means allow. Allow the grass grow under one's feet. What does it mean? One reading you should be able to answer. Second sentence got wrong. Who is this? Naresh. How come no response? Second one. Easy. When does the grass grow? When you don't do anything, grass grows. Means what? To remain idle. Remain idle means not to do anything. No work, nothing. Idle. Generally, when someone wastes his time, we say don't idle away your time. Don't idle away your time means what? Don't waste your time. Answer is the third option. No, 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 no. Let the grass grow under one's feet. Accept responsibility. It is a negative idiom. Engage in a project. Positive, positive. You cannot consider. To grow grass at home. No. Remain idle. Third option is the answer. Smell a rat. He smells a rat. I smell a rat. Yes, idle means lazy. No work. Third one is also an easy one. Should not be a problem. Smell a rat. This goes with everyday English. Yes, yes. Don't idle away your time. Means what? Don't waste your time. Third one, smell a rat. To show signs of cowardice? No. To smell the presence of a rat? To suspect something is wrong about a situation? Answer is the third option. To become polite. Be in the same boat. We also say sail in the same boat. Be in the same boat, sail in the same boat. Same meaning. What does it mean? Be in the same boat. Idiom number four. To ask someone to travel on the same boat. To be in the same presence of a rat. Funny one. Sometimes we come across funny options. And when you take the exam, in a way, you can relax when you see funny options. They are stress busters. To be in the same difficult situation. Exactly. What does it mean? To ask someone to travel on the same boat, willing to do something immediately, to force an issue that has already ended. No. We are sailing in the same boat. We are in the same boat means what? We both have the problems, difficult situation, the hardships. Oh, who is this? Are you serious? Murthy Sir Fans Association leader. This is too much. Good morning. Rather late. Pleasant surprise, but it is, I don't think I deserve something like that. Please go to the next one. Idiom number five. I'm quite happy to see that, but I don't think I deserve something like that. Please go to cut to the chase. What is the meaning of that? To start talking about the important aspects of something. Funny one, yes, I do agree. Cut to the chase to start talking about the important aspects of something. It is not the second one, it was notorious. What is notorious here? No, no, I don't think so, Nirmala. Thanks for that. Anyhow, let us focus on the questions. We are running out of time. Answer is a first option. Conclude from obvious fact. I don't think so. It should be the first one. Stop talking that is something that is not relevant and start talking about the important aspects of something. Answer is a first option. Evil tempered, solid lines, these are not. Answer is the first one, yes. That's all for today, a little early. One of the reasons I have a very tight schedule, hectic schedule. I'm not able to squeeze in some time only this week. And I want to raise the standards. Now we have been focusing, we have been working on easy questions in a way. They are no doubt above average, but prelims point of view. Now I should focus on mains point of view. Slowly, I would like to bring a few questions, prelims point of view, and a few questions, mains point of view. For that, I'm not getting enough time. This week also, I'm going to be very busy. Perhaps Monday, from Monday, you're going to see a solid changes, a lot of changes, new patterns. Completely, the focus will be on new patterns, tough questions. I'm sure you will get enriched. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. I will see you guys tomorrow. And do remember to subscribe and share. Join the Telegram group. All that you have to do, click on the link. After the session, I'll provide the PDF. Yes, yes, 9:30, 9:30. Today it is at 9:30. Maybe from Monday 9:15 to 10. I have to talk to the management and take the permission. Yes, yes, I will do all those things, Prithviraj. Just wait till Monday. I'll make you guys very happy. Now I know you are